What's more important, the journey or the destination? Actually, it's the company. Journey to Well, the podcast, was birthed with the intention to cultivate relationships. You can expect a plethora of conversations on nervous system regulation, breathwork, human design and astrology, cycle alignment, energy and spirituality, and honestly, so much more. But the heart of this community is to witness the journey back home to ourselves, rediscovering our innate power within. I couldn't be more honored to take this journey with you. Be well, my friend, and enjoy today's episode. Hello, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Hannah. So today we are talking with Sydney Jones. She is someone that I was connected with that came from somebody else that came on the podcast a while back. So super excited to chat with Sydney. She is an owner of a digital marketing agency, and we're really going to kind of talk about today. We're going to have a great human design conversation because I think we can bring in a lot of human design here, but really the importance of honoring yourself and trusting your gut in this instance, maybe a little bit more business conversation. But even if you are not a small business owner, this podcast episode would be for you, of just how can you navigate life, trusting your gut and kind of leaning into the shifts. So we were laughing before we hit record because Sydney and I actually have the same exact big three in human design. We have very many differences in our chart, but we are both 1-3 sacral manifesting generators, which is such a fun conversation because everything that I say, I'm kind of saying to you too, Sydney. So first of all, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's an honor to have you. And I would love to allow you to introduce yourself. Who is Sydney? What brought you to a digital marketing agency owner? And anything else that you feel like is important for listeners to know of who is Sydney Jones?
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. So again, my name is Sydney Jones, and I own self-titled Sydney Jones VA, which is a digital marketing agency. And a little bit about how I got started. If we want to go really far back with when I chose marketing, I chose that as my major when I was in high school. I'm from a very small town, and I did not know what marketing was. I chose it based off the TV show Younger, if anybody has seen that.
Oh my God.
I loved books, and I was like, I don't want to do, it's very common and very much needed fields, nursing and teaching. I just knew they weren't for me because I'm not as into the science side, and I didn't know if I want to be with kids all the time. So I was like, what do I want to do? What other options are there? And so I chose it based off the Younger TV show. There was a girl in there and I thought she had a cool job, and that's all I knew. And I went to college for it, and then I absolutely loved it. And did a bunch of internships where I really got to see, I like this part of it because marketing's so broad, but I got to see I like the creative side. I like, getting to design stuff or film stuff, and social media and whatever else more than maybe the analytics as much. So you kind of got to play around with that. And then my senior year of college, I was finishing up, I was graduating, I was moving to a very small town called Lexington, Kentucky, or small city. And I couldn't really find a job that I thought I was going to really enjoy for a long-term position. And I, obviously starting out, you're not going to have every ideal job available, without experience. So it was just hard for me to find something that I really thought I would enjoy. And that's when I came across a program about VA work. And that's what I did. I finished up my degree while doing a 6-week course over how to start your own business. Because I was like, then my day can look however I want it to look. I can work with people that I choose. And fields I choose. And I get to pick what I'm, doing, what I service. So it was a very slow start. It was, something that I think a lot of my family was a little wary of me doing. It's because it's so off the beaten path for them. A lot of them are education. So it was
I was
something that
going to
pushed me.
ask, do you have any entrepreneurs in your family?
No, I don't.
Okay. So this is new for everyone.
It's so new forever. Like actually she's retired now and she's about to start her own little side gig and she called me yesterday like, "How do I get started?"
Yes, mom. Oh
Yes,
my
I know.
gosh.
It's never too late.
That's true. Sorry to
What is
interrupt you. I was just curious.
No, no, I don't care at all. Because I feel like that is such a good question. Because I think when you haven't seen that, some people see that in their parents growing up, and I think it's always scary, but it's a little less daunting if you've
Mm,
had someone that you can ask questions about it too, and they know firsthand, or that you've
mm,
just witnessed. I didn't really have any of that, so I was really scared, and I think my family was scared for me.
mm,
About starting my own business, and it didn't really help that I had such a slow start. So it was
mm.
like 2 months after I finished my program before I got a client, and it was for $250 a month, which is like definitely not able to live on.
No.
So it took about like 5 or 6 months, and for me to really get my name out there, and then it grew from word of mouth at the
Mm,
time, and now it's great. We have 2 team members that help us. We have a full-time job and part-time for other people, and it's continuing to grow. But I think that's kind of my whole testament behind why you should trust your gut and believe in
mm,
yourself and follow that intuition of what you think is going to be best for you. And I really think if you're um, really like focused on that and like really trying to, like, you're determined to make it happen, most of the time, if it's for you, it's going to happen.
mm, mm. Yeah, there's this quote, something about like if you have this desire placed on your heart, it's there for a reason, and to trust that, to lean into that, that you will find success, maybe not on your timeline, that's kind of a good example of your life too, but it will happen because it's on your heart for a reason. The other
Absolutely.
thing that I really love is you said like trust your gut and kind of like lean into that, and that is completely a sacral authority in human design. I actually just had a client call yesterday, and I kind of like name these little taglines for each authority that we have, and trust your gut is the tagline for sacral authorities, because it's literally like, if you're familiar with your chakra system, the sacral center is right below your belly button, which is kind of like where we point to, like, oh, where's your gut, like your gut instinct or whatever, it would come
Oh,
from
wow.
there. So just so funny that you say that too, of like really leaning into trusting your gut. And my question always that I get asked a lot as like a coach, but that I also asked myself a lot too when I was younger, more specifically. But what does that mean to you, trusting your gut, and how did you build that trust? Like, did you feel like you always kind of had this connection with your like intuition or your gut instinct, or do you feel like you work on that in developing it and strengthening it?
I would say it definitely happened over time for me. I don't
Mm,
think it's necessarily always fully been there, but I can think of multiple instances growing up or even in college or, sometimes even recently where I haven't trusted my gut on something and maybe I've gotten, not saying you shouldn't get outside advice, you should, but, sometimes
mm,
you'll get some outside advice and it
mm,
feels not in alignment with what you feel like is right. And then maybe you listen to that anyways. And then afterwards you're like, why did I do that? Like, you regret it. Or so I think I've really had to learn just based on past experiences of not listening and like
mm,
the outcome of that or the fallout from that.
mm,
And so I think it's kind of built my confidence over time of like, I'm trying this. If it's for me, it's going to happen. And if not, I think eventually, hopefully, my gut would also lead me away from that and say,
mm.
but most of the time, I think off the top of my head, I can't think of a time where following my guts led me super a wire. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Never does. We get stuck in our mind. Like, we can overthink things. I don't know if you do, but I definitely get stuck like so much in my mind. But one of the things that I tell my sacral authorities too is that your sacral center always is speaking to you in the moment. So,
mm,
like, to say, do I want to like take this, I don't know, like go on this or take this course like 6 months from now, or do I want to
mhm.
like enroll in this program 6 months from now, can be a difficult question for your sacral center. But do I want to do this thing right now? Or do I want to like wear the color white today when you're getting dressed in the morning? That's how your sacral center speaks. So, like, that was a perfect example where you're like, not a bad idea to outsource and have
Mhm.
questions or have discussions with other people, but listening to like that inner voice while you're having the discussion of like, is this really a yes for me? Does this feel aligned? Or
Mhm.
maybe it just feels aligned for the other person. And like, I mean,
Exactly.
whenever we think something's super aligned, we think it's aligned for everyone. So it totally makes sense to have someone try to convince us to like take this program, but to really lean into yourself and check with yourself, because like talking to other people, I mean, like the other part of human design, especially with manifesting generators, is our strategy is to respond. So you need something to respond to. And sometimes that's having a conversation with someone. Sometimes it's seeing a billboard or like an Instagram ad. Sometimes it's something that was just kind of like a download that comes in from, I don't know, God, universe, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But you need something to respond to. So having discussions with other people isn't bad, but it's when we kind of override our system. And
Exactly. No, I
which is,
totally agree because I think you said it perfectly. Like, maybe you're getting someone else's opinion and that isn't right for them.
yeah,
So that's going to be their advice because that wouldn't be aligned for them. But it's
right.
like that's when you have to kind of remember, I get advice from like my friends who I love so much, but we are different people,
Mhm.
and like we work different ways and we think different ways and we just have different ideas of what we want our lives to look like. So you have to keep that in mind when you're making those decisions and not just like there's one right answer for everybody.
Mm, mm. 'Cause there never is. There's never a
No.
right answer. But that kind of brings me to the part of your story where you started more as a virtual assistant, and now you've kind of your business has morphed or shifted into digital marketing. So walk us through that and kind of like the process of that. How did you know that it wasn't right for you anymore? And how did you figure out this new avenue that you wanted your business to go down?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, I think that's one of the beauties of if you are an entrepreneur listening, or even in your personal life, I think this can apply, but like you can always change your mind and like,
Mhm.
switch directions.
Yeah.
So that's something I've been learning over the years. And it's very nice to have that flexibility. But when I started, the program I took was specifically for virtual assistants. And when they're teaching you, they're like, you can do marketing, you can do admin and stuff, and different things. So I was just kind of like, I want to get clients and I want to prove I can like live a sustainable life on this. So I was taking anything that came, any field, working with anybody, anything they needed help with. I would, obviously, if I hadn't done it, I'd be like, I haven't done this, but I will learn. Like, I want to try.
Yeah.
Because I'm really big about trying out things and seeing what sticks, and
Mm.
so that's kind of what I did. And then just through trial and error, I feel like that's the best way I learn is just by trying something. And then if it doesn't feel right to me, then I kind of go back.
That's what you told me with the 3 line. That's why so we were laughing before we hit record too, because I hadn't looked up her human design chart the first time we talked. And then I was telling her, "Oh, you're a 1-3." And Sydney told me that I said that on our Connect call before knowing her chart, but that must have been what you said, because 3 lines learn from trial and error. Like that is the 3-line title is the experimenter. So we learn
Absolutely.
through trial and error. There's like, you never fail, you always learn something. Like those are just kind of like
Oh
statements
my
of the 3
gosh.
lines. So
You know what's so funny is I have this quote. I've been like, I saw it on social media and I've been throwing it at people these last like month or so. And it literally fits that because I think it's so true. And then my mom kind of debated it. So maybe it's not as true as I thought, but it resonated with me. And it was, everything's a success when your goal is to experience.
ah,
Isn't that so good?
love.
And, there's
Oh,
probably some stuff where that isn't the case, but I think depending
yeah.
on how you frame it,
Well, and
there's a
she's
lot of like,
probably not a 3 line,
I
so
know. She like really like knocked me off that pedestal with that, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll stop mentioning that.
no,
But
I love it. I love it. I think that's so true. I mean, but it's also it's also your perspective. Like I was listening to a podcast, and obviously my business name is called Journey to Well, and the guest on that podcast was talking about like life becomes so much more enjoyable when you fall in love with the journey and not the destination. And that's really the whole reason that my business is called Journey to Well, because well is not the destination. Like, can I be well on the journey. But like that quote also reminds me of can I find success? Can I find satisfaction? Can I find like peace and contentment even when things are not going the way that I originally thought, or when I'm like quote failing? But what
Absolutely.
does failure even mean to you? Which maybe all of this is just really three-line
I
conversation.
know. I know, but you know what? I love it so much because one time in a job interview, it's when I was in college. It was actually my first ever job I had to interview for.
Mm.
So they had asked me, what does success look like to you? And I
Wow.
kind of gave a very vague answer, but I think it's true. I was like, I think that just depends on the person. Like my
Yeah.
grandmother she's like a stay-at-home grandmother. She had two kids. She like tends to the house. And that's success for her, and she
Mhm.
like lives such a happy life. Like to me, I don't know if that would be as fulfilled. I like to like have my own career and like feel like a little businesswoman, and that's like part of my success. And then also getting to travel and stuff like that's really
Yeah.
important to me. So it's like it's all about I think your framing and how you frame success to you.
Mhm.
But if you have the ideology and if it seems right that like success is to experience, it just makes everything feel a bit lighter.
Yeah. Yeah, it, like, takes the pressure off too, I think, like
Absolutely.
right, what if I just sat and experienced, like, this difficult season, like, right when you first graduated, which is not an easy thing to do, by the way, but to look back and say, "What if I just sat in that experience of not getting a client for the first 2 months and thought about how much you learned, how much you
Absolutely.
grew, I'm sure how much you panicked too, and
Yeah.
all those things, but what if I really sat with exactly where I am?" And that's been something that I've been meditating on a lot lately, like, just kinda sitting with, um, because life is never gonna be perfect, like, you're not ever gonna have every single aspect of what you want or maybe what you think is successful or, like, it means success to you, but can you be fully at peace with where you are right now? And that's a really powerful place to be when
It
things
is.
aren't absolutely "perfect," quote, unquote.
Yeah, and it's hard to get there, I think. I think there was, a few years I had in my early 20s where I just felt like there are certain things that were not going how I would imagine or I wanted. And it's very easy to just play into that and to sit in that and be sad or, something I saw. I've done like a lot of, work on my like wellness and my health,
Mhm.
apart from just physically, but like, mentally, emotionally over the past few years. And probably just with aging, like I think that's so important.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I read was like, you are kind of what you consume. So like if you're
Mhm.
sitting there consuming sad songs or like just watching sad stuff or like,
Yeah.
you're around people that are a little negative, like you're gonna obviously just absorb that a bit and become that a little bit. And so
Mhm.
I had to like sit with that and I'm like, well, what am I like really having around me every day? Like, what am I listening to?
Wow.
What am I hearing? What am I seeing? And like switch that. But it really makes all the difference. And I think it sounds a little cliche or like it's not that simple, but it really does help.
It really does. I you make me laugh because it makes me think of my mom, who when we were kids, she would say that. She'd be like, um, more like I'm thinking in regards to music, and she'd be like, you're consuming all of those, like, cuss words or all of that, like, talk of, like, killing people, like, I don't know, like, rap music, I feel like, and I
Yeah.
mind you, I still listen to it, so but
Yeah.
to be aware of and I really like that question that you asked yourself of, like, "What am I consuming?"
Yeah.
Because there's so many things that we're not conscious of, especially because we're pretty ritualistic people, right? Like, you drive
Absolutely.
to work the same way every day. You probably, if you pay attention, you probably brush your teeth the same way every day.
Oh
You
yeah.
shower and wash your hair the same way every day. You probably have like a pretty similar morning routine where like you get up, go to the bathroom, I don't know, like then get dressed and then eat breakfast and then brush your teeth, like whatever it is. But we're doing all of these things without thinking about them because we've done them for so long. So same with music that we listen to, or same with like
Absolutely.
Instagram algorithms, right? Like you're taking in
Yeah.
the same information because the algorithm is putting that out there. So to stop
Exactly.
yourself and be like, what am I consuming and what pieces are serving me and what pieces are not serving me, or where I want to be
Yeah,
too. Like if you want to be somewhere else in your business, what needs to change?
absolutely.
Fill
And
yourself
I
with that.
think you would think that that would come easily, like once you diagnose whatever it is, like you want to change it, but sometimes you don't want to change it. You know, you're like, I
Mm-mm.
like that song, or I like doom scrolling on TikTok or whatever it is, that you're
Yeah.
seeing.
Yeah.
Or maybe it is like a friend, like, I've been very fortunate with my friends. So like,
Mm.
but I have seen, people where maybe it's like someone you're close to, but they're maybe a little bit negative, or they're bringing down
Yeah.
their energy draining if you're around them too much. So it's like hard to really make those transitions once you diagnose them, but it's like that's the next
Mhm.
step. Or I'll tell you something, even me and my sister have talked about, like, you go home and visit family, and it's so funny because it's like I'm such a different person than I was in high school or when I was younger.
Mm.
But you almost revert back to it because it's just what you're used to when you're there.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that is so true. Oh my gosh, do you watch How I Met Your Mother?
I haven't watched it all, but I watched it on cable because I still have cable, which is
Oh
crazy.
god,
But
what? You still is that even a thing? That's wild.
I know.
So there's an episode where they call it like Revertigo, and it's like Lily and How I Met Your Mother, like her high school friend comes to visit, and they obviously over exaggerate this. So like Lily starts talking with this accent, and like they're drinking what they drink. It's like a vodka Gatorade or something. Like nobody
That's
drinks that as an
hilarious.
adult. Like, they're drinking what they drink in college and or high school, whatever it was. And like they kind of go through different characters and how they when they hang out with their high school or college friend, how they go back to the person. But it's so true. And like we're different people with different people. So like you present
Literally.
yourself differently to your parents than you do probably to your partner, and your best friend is different than how you present yourself to your clients. And that's not a bad thing, but you are right. You have a great point that the people like almost doing like a person audit too of like,
Mhm.
are these people that are in my life? And it doesn't mean maybe that we have to completely cut them out, but if they're not, again, bringing you closer to your goal or like
Mhm.
who you would like to be or become, then maybe creating some separation or like
Yeah.
what do I need to do? And like again, I don't know, going back to your authority, like what feels right? What's your gut telling you here?
Exactly. And I think when it is relationships, there's like not a cookie cutter answer, I feel like
No,
most of the time. Because
no.
that's when it's real people and real emotions and things. But I think sometimes I have a really hard time. Like if I'm really loyal to someone or I'm friends with someone, or it's not easy for me to totally cut people off. It's just never been for me.
You're a
So
Leo too, right?
I am.
That's it.
I know. So it's like, it would be really hard for me to do that. But I think it's just knowing a boundary of like, maybe I'm like with them all the time. Maybe I need to cut back on how often I'm with them. Or if I'm leaving feeling drained, maybe I just need a few days or a
Yeah.
week or two, or depending on, how often you see them. But
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be all or nothing either.
Yeah. I mean, that's what life is. Like I think at least what I've learned the most in my life so far on this journey is that we want to live in a black and white world, and it is everything but that.
Oh my gosh. You are
Like
speaking my language. That is so true.
it's so like it's always, well, I'm also a Libra rising, but but it's all about finding balance. Like we want so badly just to have like that cookie cutter,
Hmm.
right? Like this is how you cut somebody out of your life, or
Yeah,
this is how you make a successful business, or this is how you find success. But like, what the heck does success mean to you? And like, there's so many holes in that black and white theory that. And I still get caught in that too. So like it's
hmm,
not that we ever really fully arrive at, oh, I always find balance, or like I always live in the gray or like the color, whatever you want to say that's not black and white. But I mean, there is black and white, but we don't live in that world. Like there is
absolutely.
right and wrong, but what is right and what is wrong? There's no
Literally.
right or wrong.
And that's what I tell. I've had this conversation with a couple like friends and family, but I'm like, when I was young, I really thought black and white, like, this
Mhm.
is bad, this is good. And then I grew up and you face real world problems yourself, but you
Yeah.
also see like, you know, it's so funny. I see myself now in situations that when I was younger, I was like, I will never be in something like that. And then you're
Yep.
in it. And then you're like, oh, it's a lot different now.
It always happens, right?
It does. It's almost like a gotcha moment. Like, oh, you
Mhm.
thought you were better than this, like now
Mhm.
you get to experience it. But it's also, I'm very glad for those experiences because it kind of humbles you a little and it
Yeah.
does make you realize, 99% of the time it's not just black and white. There's a
Mhm.
lot of the gray in the middle. And
Mhm.
I think it's also important to think like you said, like there is right and wrong, but I think it's important to think about like why are people doing that? Like,
Mhm.
what's the reason behind your quote unquote wrong action? What's the reason behind your quote unquote right action? Because there's
Yeah.
intention goes a lot into, I think, what's
Yeah.
black and what's right. And when you're young, I don't think you really think that. You just think this is wrong, this is right.
Mhm. Absolutely. And you make such a good point. I think that it is like it is very humbling, and it also gives you a different perspective when you're put in a situation where you thought like you would completely act the opposite way, or
Absolutely.
you would never do that. It's humbling, and it also expands you. And if we're coming kind of from like a universal perspective, I think that the universe gives us these experiences. So even the ones that are very difficult or they're coming up against what you believe or what you thought would ever happen, that's happening for a reason
Yeah.
to expand you if you can have that perspective. And we don't always have that perspective. But I think if you can have that, that's a really powerful place to be, because you can really grow. You can develop. And it doesn't mean that your perspective has to be completely shifted to like the other
Mhm.
side, but it gives you again that like, oh, it could be another way.
No, I totally agree with you. And I think it's you really don't know again until you experience. It's like
Yeah.
another example of like learning as you go. And really quick, and we might have already talked about this. Do you know what your MBTI is?
What is
And
that?
and that's more of a person. It's not as much design or zodiac, but it's a personality thing. It's 16 personalities, and basically there's it's 4 letters, and there's two different options for each.
Oh,
So
like the ISF.
yes, yeah.
Oh, yes, but I did that a long time ago.
Okay, if you ever do it, you'll have to let me know because I'm like really into that stuff as well. I like to like if I feel like it's accurate, I like to pick people's brain on what they are. But one
So
of
I
the
know that I know that the first one is like introverted or extroverted.
yes,
So I'm pretty sure that like I come up as extroverted, even though I'm very much like I'm like 49, 51%. Like I'm very much in the middle, because I think that I am more extroverted, but I really gain energy by myself. So I don't gain energy from other people. I gain energy when I'm alone.
you know what's so funny? I'm the exact same way. I'm extroverted on there, but it's like in the 50s was my percentage.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like I'm more of really an ambivert. I think
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
really good one on one, if that makes sense, which is an
Yeah.
option on there. But
Me
but
too.
I think I need time to recharge, and then I also think like if there's someone else there that's really outgoing, I can like lean back and like
Yeah, I'm not the center of attention, and that's where,
yeah,
like, the Leo thing where people are like, "Oh, you love to be the center of attention." I'm like, "Actually, I don't." In
that's me.
in small group settings, like, I think that I can thrive, but in large group, I'm not the one that is, like, boisterous, or I mean, I'm always loud, but, like, that's just how I am, but not, like, trying to be loud to bring attention to myself. I can
That's
be
me.
pretty laid back. What are the other ones?
So then the next one is I'm trying to remember because I only really know
Yours.
mine, which is so bad. So I'm an ENFP. So I think it's intuitive and maybe like let me just let me
Maybe we should Google it.
yeah, because I do not want to sound ignorant.
I did do it a long time ago, but yeah, I feel like I could probably diagnose myself, but I should take the
I
quiz
wonder if we're gonna be
anyway.
similar on this too. Like
I
I'm
know
just
I want.
curious now.
You're gonna say like I'm the same thing. Okay, we'll get it.
Okay, let's see.
I'm trying to remember.
Okay, sorry. We can cut this part out. Okay,
No,
I
you're
got it.
good.
So it's intuitive and sensing is the next two. So you're one or the other.
What is sensing then, though? Because I feel
That's
like
what I'm
intuitive
wondering
is.
because they kind of sound similar, don't
Oh,
they?
I would guess this is so funny because somebody that's listening, they're like, This is ridiculous. Let's just like
Mhm.
walk through guessing our answers." I would guess that sensing is more like sensing other people's emotions and feelings, and
Mm,
then intuitive would be like feeling your own,
you're inward.
which I would love to say I do have a strong intuition, but I feel other people's energy.
Oh,
So
so
I
maybe you're an
don't
S.
know what did you say?
Maybe you're an S.
I would say that I was an S because like that's a huge part of my like journey so far is also learning what is mine and what's not mine because
Mhm.
as even still, but as I was younger, I would absorb other people's energy and think that it was mine. And as I get older and kind of like develop that like setting boundaries and like blocking people out of your aura and all that like energetic stuff, I can more easily distinguish like, oh, this is not mine. This is someone else's.
That's
And I
awesome.
have a, an easier time than doing my own. But I would say that I am sensing.
Sensing.
What are you?
Okay.
You're the other one though.
Yeah, I'm intuitive.
Okay.
And then the next one is feeling or thinking. And I'm feeling.
I don't know.
I know it's kind of hard to do for yourself, like if you haven't taken it, I think, you know.
Yeah, because like,
Um,
it's like, what ideally do I wanna say? I'm definitely a feeler, but what would actually come up? I don't know.
I, I feel like you give off us meeting a couple times feeling
Hmm,
vibes to me, but
yeah.
again, I don't know for sure. And then the last one is perceiving or judging, and I'm perceiving.
I wonder what judging is.
I know. So one of my best friends is she has judging in hers, and she's like not I think what you would think of when you think of a judgy person. So
Yeah.
it's I don't know exactly how they choose that, you
I
know?
would just assume that it doesn't mean, like, judging, like, a
Right,
person, but, like,
right.
what was it? Perceiving or judging?
Perceiving or judging.
Hmm, I don't know. I mean, I would say perceiving, yeah, but that's just mostly because I don't get what judging is, so
I know. I know. Well, if you ever take it, you'll have to let me know.
oh
I
my
was just
gosh, I
curious
will.
because once you started talking, I was like, I think we're gonna have the same or very similar of those as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, even just from that, like, I think that we have the same except for maybe the second one, but
Yeah.
again, I would be curious if what would actually come up if I took the quiz, so
I
I
know.
like stuff like that, like, I think my my perspective on these tools, and I think that this is a good conversation to have because we can really easily put ourselves in boxes in so many ways, right? We label ourselves. That's why I asked the question in the beginning of who is Sydney, because it's interesting, it's curious to me to see how people introduce themselves because you put yourself in the box of a wife, a mother, a entrepreneur, a sister, a partner, whatever it is. And we can also put ourselves in boxes of like, I'm a Leo, you're a Leo, I'm a INF, whatever, whatever. I'm a manifesting generator. And clearly I love human design as a tool, but that's what it is to me. It's a tool. It's not a a a boxing in. To me, I think that we can use these tools, like even that personality test, to help us understand ourselves a little bit better, but be
Absolutely.
very mindful of not putting yourself in the box of like, oh, I'm just a Leo, that's why I do these things. Or I'm just a manifesting generator, that's why I do these things. Like, I almost challenge my clients when we work together of really diving into like, how does this land for you when I tell you what your human design chart is or reveals? How does that land? Where does it feel really aligned? Where does it feel really misaligned? Where
Right.
does it feel like I finally have this permission slip or this validation for like, this is who I am or was, and I used to run away from it, and now I have this validation and now I sit in it. But be really careful not to allow like these tools to box you in where you feel
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't know, like I'm a thinker, so that means I can't sense. Like,
Yeah.
no, you can.
Absolutely. You know, that's so interesting because I'd never thought about it like that. But I feel
Mhm.
like that's probably why I enjoy them so much. Because, like, same with like Enneagram and other stuff like that. Like, I love to do stuff like that and kind of like, in a sense, feel like I'm understanding myself better or like
Mhm.
finding things out about me that maybe I can't, come to on my own terms. But it
Right.
is one of those things you have to be careful of because you also don't want to like use it as an excuse, or you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you don't want to be like, oh, I'm just that way because of X, Y, and Z, you know?
And I
Um,
feel like people can. Like, I feel like people do,
Absolutely.
and that's not, like, judging you at all. I mean, we all do, right?
Right.
Um, but to catch yourself, like, I've almost used one of the things about Leos, like, one of the stereotypes is, they can be really stubborn, and, of course, when I heard that, I was like, "That's not true," like, typical, like, feeling attacked, but then now I use it as when I don't have something go my way, it's like this reminder to myself to ask myself, "Am I being stubborn in this situation?" And it's okay if the answer is yes, like, we're
Right.
all human, but instead of, like, I think that I used to be really shitty when things didn't go my way, and now I have this filter almost where I can ask myself, "Oh, are you being like, are you
Right.
being a little shitty right now? Are you being a little stubborn right now?" And if the answer is yes, then what do you wanna do about it? And sometimes it is just, like, acknowledging it to the person. Like, I've straight up told people, like, "I'm shitty right now because I'm not getting my way, and I know that's bad, but, like, I'm just telling you that's what's going
That's
on in
so
my life
funny.
right now."
Do you know what? I love the transparency though. I was just with someone yesterday and I said something like she was like, please don't judge me for, thinking this. And I was like, no, I don't. I was like, what I say to my friends sometimes is I'm like, I know this is a character flaw of mine. Like I'm aware of it,
Right,
and I'm like, and I know I shouldn't feel this way, but in the moment right now I do. Like,
right.
you
Because
know,
nobody's perfect, and, like, it's
absolutely.
okay. We all judge. I think to, like, sit and pretend to be perfect or, like, have it all together, especially as a business owner. I was talking to another coach about this, and when I first started, I thought that I had to kind of put on this projection that I had it all together or nobody would want to work with me because who doesn't want to work with somebody that doesn't have it all together? But
Right.
as I went on, I'm like, "Oh, but nobody has it all together." And if you put on that projection, then it makes you seem almost inhuman, and nobody wants to work with that person because
Absolutely.
who wants this, like, bar so high that
Yeah.
it's just not able to be reached. And so showing and it's just being honest too, like, it's
Absolutely.
not that you have to air all your dirty laundry out, but, like, being vulnerable and being honest and being
Right.
authentic, like, I know that about myself, and that's just how it is, and that's okay, and when I acknowledge it, it, like, takes the grips off of my mind, like, because
Absolutely.
then I could get judgy about myself, like, I could judge myself for being stubborn, and then you
Yeah.
go on that whole spiral, right, of, like,
No,
ugh,
and we're all our
right.
own worst critics as well. So I think we're
Yeah,
always harder on ourselves. I
yeah.
think a good example of this whole conversation right now is, I was like pretty late for our meeting today, and I got on here
Fine.
and I told you, and I hope it came off that way. Like I just told you exactly what it was. I was like, "This is why I'm late. I'm so sorry,"
Right,
but I think it does add to like you know, obviously, ideally, don't be late, but it's like, it adds to that authentic piece of like,
right.
you know, I'm telling you exactly what it was. I'm so sorry,
Yeah.
and I think it makes people appreciate it a bit more and also feel like they can probably trust you a bit more
Mhm,
because you are being so honest about everything.
mhm. And for me, I I say this with, like, the caveat that I know that I am such an open book, and I'm terrible at lying. So, I know that, like, I can't really deceive people, but
Yeah,
even in this example, like, had you not told me, it would have been fine anyway, but if we don't just kind of stay open and upfront, then it leaves more room for the other person to make up all of these other stories in their head, like,
Literally.
oh, she just has no respect for my time, or
Literally.
she, I don't know, like she was probably like at a long lunch or something. Like, I don't know what stories I wouldn't have made up those, but you know what I mean? And
No,
like when we're
exactly.
not open, then you create more space for these stories to be generated that could be way worse than what you even did.
Oh my gosh. And that is such a good point because I can think of situations in life where that's exactly happened where,
Yeah.
maybe someone hasn't told me why they're late or they haven't told me why they haven't explained something to me. But then that gap of communication leads to like, especially if you're someone who I've worked very hard on this, but maybe sometimes you are more inclined to like think the worst or just think
Yeah.
like, oh, like it could, nothing came up. It's just, they don't respect my time or they, or whatever. It's nothing important. So I think I think it can also be anxiety inducing to have the conversation sometimes because you're like, I
Mm,
don't really want to bring more attention to it. But I think
mhm,
it's almost always better to do it
mm.
because at least then you're honest. And if there is still hard feelings or there is still, which understandably, maybe some friction there, um, everything's out on the table. And it's
Yeah.
like, then from there, all you can do is learn and grow and, try
Yeah.
again in the future.
Yeah. One of the most powerful questions that I learned from a therapist, I believe, and it was more in regards to relationships, but to present your first statement as the story that I'm telling myself is, and
Mm,
then go on. So, like, in your situation, right? Like,
yeah.
I could have said, which again, this is like, we're just using it because it's relevant. I don't think it's the best example, but in this situation of you being late, like, I could have come on and said, "Well, the story that I'm telling myself is you don't respect my time."
Yeah.
And instead of that's way more respectful and, um, opening of a conversation than "You're so rude, you don't respect my time."
I
Because
love
in
that.
this case, it wasn't that at all, and I don't
Yeah.
think that would be you at all in general, but you know what I mean? So, like, the story that I'm telling myself is, and then go ahead because honestly, you don't really know what's going on in anyone else's head. Like, you could know a
Absolutely.
person pretty well, you know your partner pretty well, you know your best friend pretty well, but you still don't know what is going on in their head or what led them to make a decision fully. You could make guesses, but again, that's a story that you're telling yourself. I think that's really powerful.
Oh, I love that. I've never heard that before, but I'm going to start utilizing it because I think it
Yeah.
is too. And I think it also comes off a bit like, sometimes if someone comes at you like you're rude or I think this about you, it makes the other person immediately up in guards, or at least that's how
Mhm.
I can feel sometimes. Like you're immediately on the defense a little, like, hold
You
on.
are.
Like, so at least with that, it's a little more, it comes off a little less presumptuous and a
Mm.
little more like, this is just how I feel right now, rather
Yeah.
than like, coming in at you. So I love
Yeah.
that. I'm gonna have to start using that.
You're starting more offensive. Same with, like, I'm curious. That's one of my favorite questions, and I've let me put it out there on this podcast that I'm trying to use this more on podcasts especially and get more in the habit of I'm curious, but to really come from a place of curiosity of even that, like, same situation, like, "I'm curious why you were late today," rather than,
Absolutely.
again, making this statement of why you were late, like, I'm just wondering why you were late, or I'm just wondering, like, why you think that. And one of my favorite, I don't know, one of my favorite, like, follow-up things to that, like, curiosity question is that it's easy to make that a leading question where you have, like, an answer that you want that person to arrive to versus actually being curious, because I think we can say, "I'm curious," and not
And
not
not
be
actually
curious,
be.
which
I
is
love
rough.
that. No, I mean, that's a good point though. I need you to send me wherever you're getting all your tips from because
Oh
these
god.
are gold.
Thousands of podcasts, thousands. I don't know. But I really do love, like, even kind of looping back to our original kind of like where we started of like, what is success to you, and you starting your own business. having that position or perspective of curiosity is one of the most powerful things. And I don't think I know that I don't always have that
Yeah.
position of curiosity or posture. That's the word, posture of curiosity. But every time that I can generate that within myself, like even I've shared a lot of my podcasts about this like back injury kind of that I've been dealing
Mm,
with over the past couple of years. And every time that I was able to kind of zoom out a little bit and just say, like, I'm curious why this is happening for me right now. And just try to be open in the harder situations, in the painful situations, or the grief filled situations. I mean, that's much more difficult, but to even take that for like 2 seconds, like, I'm curious why I am where I am right now in my life, whether you're talking about
yeah,
a good situation or a bad situation. That's really powerful.
absolutely. I think it always feels, you know, when you're going through a hard time like that or a challenge or whatever the case is, like asking that curiosity can lead to you finding a purpose in it. And once you have a purpose,
Mm,
everything feels a little more easy, you know?
mm,
Or maybe easy is not the right word, but bearable. And I think you do have a more lightness when you think of it rather than if you just have an ideology of like, there's no reason for this. And I'm in such a,
yeah.
down bad attitude, which is understandable and easy to get to. But I think
Mhm,
when you can repurpose that or reframe that, you're
mhm,
always going to feel better, even as you're
mm,
still getting through it, you know?
yeah. Yeah, like, what am I learning right now? What is
Absolutely.
this doing for me? It's that question, definitely, like, life it was Tony Robbins, I do know this one, at least I can quote one person. Tony Robbins says, like, "It's not why is life happening to me, it's why is life happening for me?" And in all
Oh, yeah,
situations, how is this happening for me? It's the same thing because you're discovering and you're I liked how you worded that because you're discovering the purpose behind it.
absolutely. I
Like,
think that's a big part in changing your mindset too. It's
yeah.
like, once you kind of have a mentality like that, things are naturally going to just feel a bit lighter
Mm,
overall.
mm, yeah. Oh, this was such a fun conversation. I have one last question, but before, where can people find you if we need a marketing agency? Where can people connect with you, or just to check in and say hey?
Absolutely. So, the best way to connect with me currently is probably Instagram, and it's
Mm,
very easy to find. It's Sydney Jones VA is the username, so
love.
super straightforward. And then, of course, my email's always open as well. Whether you're looking for marketing, you have questions, maybe you're in a similar field and you just want someone to pick your brain with, someone that's been there,
Mm.
and have like a marketing confidant. I'm open to that too. Like, I'm always looking for new connections, so feel free to reach out.
Marketing is always, I feel like we always need someone, someone,
Absolutely. It's
whether
great because it's so broad, and then it's kind of
yeah.
terrifying because it's so broad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I feel that for sure. Which also, like, I feel like that definitely is like a manifesting generator. I always say, and these are just my hypotheses, but I think more broad positions or like fields are better for manifesting generators so we can switch. So like you starting
Yes,
as a VA, moving into like marketing, it's the same field ish, right? Like, and you're still using your degree, but
right.
my business too, my coaching business has definitely morphed and really just that's why I always just kind of call myself a coach because I'm like, I don't want to really niche down where I feel like I'm stuck and I can't get out of that. I want to
Absolutely.
remain, I mean, I am like, yeah, like have specific tools, but those tools can shift over time, which
No,
I
I
think is same with
totally
marketing.
agree. I mean, I changed my mind, like, which might sound bad, but you think 5, 10 years down the line of like what you want your business to look like,
Yeah.
that is constantly evolving for me. Cause then you go
Mhm.
through another experience where you're like, oh, maybe I want to do this. Maybe I want to add this in. Maybe I don't want this to be, for a long time I was told you need to niche down.
Yep.
Niching is how you're going to do it. And that just doesn't feel right for me. So I haven't. I don't niche
Mhm.
down. I work with a bunch of different kinds of clients and a bunch of different parts of marketing. It's not just social media or, but it's because that's what feels, again, leading back to gut, but right
Yeah.
within me and like what my gut led me to do. And so far it's paid off. So
Yeah. And I do think that that's like across the board a very manifesting generator
I
thing
love that.
that I fully agree with, like as
Yeah.
a manager. Last question would be, I mean, kind of along those same lines, but if you can think of a different answer or the same one is fine. But my question was, if you could go back and tell like college Sydney some advice, and it doesn't even have to be business advice, but any advice, what would that advice be?
Oh, I love that question. Oh my gosh, I feel like so much actually.
Mm,
Um, you know, I think a big thing that I've been on, I mean, really for the past couple years, I wouldn't say it's new to like me right now, but I think, life's kind of your oyster, and we're
mm,
fortunate enough to have that. So I think making sure you're taking advantage of that and not just in business, but, in travel or if you like to
mm,
travel or with your friends, just making sure and again, it's back to experience, but, getting that experience out. And that's why I'm so glad I've said yes to so much over the years
mm.
because you get to kind of experience it and then maybe you're like, oh, that isn't my particular oyster, but
Yeah.
you get to like try different things and see what like you like. And for me that's been the best way to live life, so I think I
Mm,
would just make sure I kept that mindset throughout, because I think there's definitely been times where it's floundered, like
mhm,
when it was a slow start to my business, specifically even after I had that first client. I had like 5 clients by the end of that year, but they were all super low ticket.
mm.
So like it was 5 clients sounds like a lot, but when they're really low, it's still not that much money. I think I was making like $1,200 a month or something crazy.
Yeah.
So it's like you still that's when you kind of just forget that stuff and you're like
Mm,
get more in that negative mindset. But I think if you're, I don't know, I think, say yes to opportunities,
mm,
you putting yourself out there, go to networking, you know,
mm.
go on the trip with your friends, just say yes to as
Yeah.
much as you can.
Love that. Thank you so much, Sydney. This was such a fun conversation.
Ah, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Truly, your support and love is the foundation of this community and this podcast. If you find yourself in a season of life ready to explore your inner landscape deeper, or perhaps you feel like you've tried all the things and nothing has worked, here's your gentle invitation to come back home. Align and Embody is my signature coaching container that is created to explore our soma, our living wholeness. Perhaps the answers you seek truly do live within. You just need to learn the communication of your body. Align and Embody combines the 3 pillars of my business: human design, somatic breathwork, and cycle alignment. Head to the link in this description to learn more, or better yet, reach out on Instagram @_journey to well. I'd be honored to connect with you. Be well on this journey, my friend. Talk soon.